Okay. What we have is a future passive. This is our lesson 28. We have the future passive. Now, when we're looking at the future passive, it's made off the same stem as the aorist. So it's going to have the same form. It just won't have the augment on it. So we'll have, basically, it's the same form without the augment. So if we'd had the augment over here, that's the only difference. And so we have first future passive and second future passive. They follow the same form as the first and second aorist passive stems. Okay. So right here, we're going to take this. This is Matthew 5:19. Now our text down here that we're going to translate for next class period, I'm going to try to get into it and figure out where it all is, but it looks like a bunch of it's out of Matthew 24, but I haven't checked it all. I'll go back through it next week. But it looks like a lot of it's from the Bible itself. From Matthew 5:19, utos, megos, lethesetai, en te, basileia, ton, uranion. And this is the word for this. And ekainos would be that. And so he translated that one, but actually it's the word for this one. Shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So the difference in this and that, utos is this, and ekainos is that. And so this is the near one. But it always agrees in gender as well, so be aware of that. So this, I would translate it, this one shall be called, and he shall be called. Now this gets one of our words that we have down here is kaleo. This is an adjective form of it, but it's from kaleo, okay, which we've already had. So this is a form of kaleo. All right. And so shall be called in the kingdom of heaven. And so this one shall be called great, or great shall be called, but we would put shall be called great afterwards. Shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:19. Any comments there? So here's a future tense. And so we have a setai ending, thesetai. Right? Thesetai. And that's your form right down here, thesetai. And so it's a third person singular. So that's our form. We have thesetai. Let me go back over here now. Here it is. And so we have here future. Come into the future, so we have thesetai. Thesetai right there. All right, there it is. There's your ending, thesetai. All right. Any questions? The future passive, and he tells us here it's a late formation in Greek. Remember, I've told you before, again, you don't remember everything I tell you, and maybe that's good, because sometimes I've been wrong a time or two and had to correct it. But the future, the passive, aorist passive, and the aorist future, and the aorist middle, the middle came first and the passive came later. Same thing happened with the future because it's made off the aorist stem. So the first one was the middle voice. The middle voice was first, and then the passive voice came later. So it's a late formation made from the aorist passive stem. All right. And so right here we have luthesomai. That's all right here, luthesomai. And that I shall be loosed. That's future, see. And of course, the aorist would have just had an augment over here at the beginning, is what it would have had. We just had an augment, and that would have fixed it. let's go over here and look at it, and you can see the way it forms. The aorist would have an augment, and this is our future passive. The aorist, we don't have, yeah. We don't show, I don't have a first aorist in here on this Luo, okay? Let's say, okay. All right, let's go back. All right. So right here now, what we have is the future passive stems. The first future passive takes a theta. So it has a theta, so that has a theta on it, like our aorist. So we have theta all the way across here. And then the second one will just have that part right here. So we come down here and we have, that's your second, right? So Luo takes the first future passive, takes first future passive. That would be from Luo. Luthesomai, I shall be loosed. Luthese, you shall be loosed. Luthesetai, he shall be loosed. Luthesomai, somata, Luthesomata, we shall be loosed. Lutheseste, you, plural, shall be loosed. Luthesontai, they shall be loosed. Notice there are no infinitives because the infinitive is unnecessary, because the aorist infinitive would do the same thing the future infinitive would do, right? So it has just the same kind of action. Any comments there? All right. Stems would take the second aorist passive, also take the second future passive conjugation. Now, the only difference in the first and second aorist first and second future passive is the absence of the theta. There's no difference in the meaning. The two have the same meaning. It's just a different form. So there's no difference in the meaning. All right. Let's look at the word thopto, I bury, and that's our second aorist active. And so the second aorist active is right here. That's the aorist active. So we can get off here. We say, okay, I wonder what the root for this is. We'll go back and look at it in just a minute. The aorist passive has this right here. There's the active form, and there's your passive. Right? So it's an ain, and your augment here for the aorist passive. And I was buried. So the future now takes that same word, thopto, and so we have a asomai, and so that would be your root here, right over here. So let's go look at the word just a minute, and we can figure it out from Thayer. Let's see what we got here in Thayer. And what I've done is I put Thayer into the file here. We had thopto already, but I added this to it since you had it. You don't have this in your file, what I've highlighted. So all it has, thopto is only found in the aorist. Since it doesn't call it active or passive, you assume it's active. So that's your first aorist active. And then this is your second aorist passive. That's all it has there, okay? Now what they've done is they've taken, it doesn't exist in the future, but they're doing a future to show you how it works. So what they have over here, they're telling us this, none of this is found in the New Testament. Okay, is that clear? Not found in the New Testament. But they're doing this to show you the form of it, how it works. So you won't find these anywhere in the New Testament, according to Thayer, that is. So what Thayer then only lists first aorist active, second aorist passive. Now we learn also that it is irregular. So it's irregular. So now let's take this word and let's take the first aorist active and we'll take it off. Then we have slop, off, and that will be, if we do that, that's this right here. That's what we have. That's your root. Now then what we do to make it aorist, what do? We put an augment on the front. So I'm going to put an augment there. So we make this augment. All right. Then if we take it, and they always put it to first person singular. And so that's the form they put it in. So we have a sigma alpha, right? Sigma alpha. And that's what we have there. Now our problem is, what we get is, due to euphonics, these two don't blend together and we don't put them together like that. So what we do that is these two might become a C. That's how we got this up here. Any questions about that? All right. Now, let's go back a minute. Now, what we have here now, let's take this off and let's just get rid of that completely. And now this is your aorist passive. So now we can take off the augment, take the augment off, and we can take that ending. And so our root now becomes tough instead of tough. So the root changes, the theta becomes a ta. So that's your new root. All right. Remember, it's irregular in the aorist future passive. So it's irregular. So that's what it becomes. Now, if we put us an augment on it, we can augment it. And there we have, that's your augment. And then we put an ain ending. Oops. And that'll get it. We have an accent mark here and a smooth breathing here. And so that's how we make it into first person singular. That's what they show. Now, you remember now, it always gets it as first person singular. They put it in here in this form. That's so you can do what I just did. So you can figure out what the roots are. Now, does that help a bit to see how we get the roots? Any questions or comments? Anybody? Okay. All right. So we can figure out our roots with the lexicon. Take our lexicon and figure the roots out. All right. Now I've got these labeled. This is an irregular. It's one of those irregular words. So I just wanted to show you how we can actually figure the roots out from it. Okay. So we can get our roots, even if they're irregular, we can figure it out. All right. I'm going to go back now unless there are questions. Any questions anyone's got before I go back? All right. Okay. So now we have a asomi. All right. And I say, and that'd be tophasomi, tophasomi, tophase, tophaseta, tophasomata, tophaseste, tophasonta, tophasonta. And again, there's no infinitive for it. So this is, I shall be buried, you shall be buried, he shall be buried, we shall be buried, you all shall be buried, they shall be buried. Okay? Right? And again, as I pointed out from Thayer, we learned that none of these are found in the New Testament. So this is just a form to let you see how it works. Okay? So you won't run into these anywhere in the New Testament. Right? Are there any questions now? All right. Okay. Now we have an impersonal verb And we're going to do a little work on that here to kind of let us see what's going on here. I will point out a couple of things. I sent you the corrected copy. This had an error in it here, and I think it had a different letter here, and it had another problem here. I don't remember what all the problems were, but I found several. Also, this right here didn't have a circumflex on it. And I think the file I sent you doesn't have the circumflex, but it has one on it now. So when you get it next time, it'll have the circumflex on it. Okay, I won't send it to you tonight again, just for one correction. All right, any questions there? All right, an impersonal verb, and we have impersonal verbs in English as well, but this is a form. It's called an idiom. And the word idiom comes from the Greek word idios. I'll write it out here. It comes from that word, which means its own. And that means its own. And so it's a peculiarity to that language. It's its own thing. Right? I'm doing my own thing. The language is. And so this, he claims it's an imitation of the Hebrew idiom, and it may be. He knows a lot more than I do. He knew a lot more than I do. But kai egeneto, and this is, when you look at it, this is a form. This is aorist, of course. So what we have here, when we look at this was an imitation of the Hebrew. It's an impersonal verb. Now notice if you look at it here, it's third person singular. So we get third person singular. And it's from ginomai. So it's from our word ginomai. It's from that word right there. All right. And of course, we got to go back to the root of that word, see how they got this form, okay? We have the augment and so forth, all right? Now, what we have here is, it's an impersonal verb. It's always third person singular, impersonal verb would be. Here's a basic form of this. It says the usual construction followed kai egeneto is a clause consisting of an infinitive and an accusative of reference. Now let's talk about accusative of reference. Accusative of reference, if we go back all the way, I think it's around page 8. It's introduced very early in our book, one of the first couple of chapters. What happens here is, it's like the subject of the infinitive, accusative of reference. And what that means is the infinitive takes its subject in the accusative case. That allows us to make a pretty complicated sentence. We can have the subject doing something with a finite verb, and of course the subject being the nominative case, doing something, and then we have a direct object, and then we could have the direct object doing something. So we could say the batter hit the ball, and the ball broke the window, okay, of a house. And so the ball would be the direct object, and it could break the window then. And so that's how the structure would go. And so we would use an infinitive to make that direct object actually do something, act like a subject itself in a much more complicated sentence. So that's what we run into here. Now we can also do it with our participles as well. We haven't gotten to participles yet. We're pretty close to them. We can do that with participles as well. We've done a lot with infinitives up to this point, but we'll do participles in a few more lessons. So he has a redundant kai, and he makes a statement. In some cases, the meaningless kai is dropped. He's claiming that the redundant kai is meaningless. Now, I think he's reasoning wrong here. Let me give you my reasoning on this, And of course, he's not a lot around. He's passed away. He's been dead quite a number of years. He can't defend himself. I understand that. But my point is this. How does he know it's meaningless? The Holy Spirit put it in the Bible. If he put it there, I think it has some purpose. I can't see the Holy Spirit putting a meaningless word in the Bible. So that being the case, so he would say, the response would be, well, I don't see a purpose for it. Well, that doesn't mean there's not a purpose. So that's, I think sometimes we reason poorly if we're not careful. So the reasoning is, if I know a purpose for that chi being there, and then it has meaning, well, that's true. But then I turn around and say, I don't know a purpose for the chi being there, therefore it's meaningless. That's, of course, the fallacy of denying the antecedent. So it's a logical fallacy. And that would only work if it was God, because he knows everything. But I don't. So there may be a reason for it, and I just don't know. I don't know the reason. Maybe I need to be studying and look for it. All right. So I kind of take an issue with that statement right there. All right. Because it's the Bible. And to me, it's everything that's there had a purpose. Right? So right now, also, he can have chi egeneto, or he could have egeneto day. So we have egeneto day. I'm in class. All right. All right. What we have here is, it could be egeneto day. I forgot to take my phone off the hook. Okay, that'll take care of it. All right, chi egeneto, and we could have chi egeneto, and it came to be, it came to pass, or we could have egeneto day. That would also almost be translated the same way. Of course, there's a difference between day and chi. Not a big difference, but there's a difference between the two. So we could have egeneto day or chi egeneto. Of course, day is postpositive, so it goes after it. And so, and it came to pass that, now here's one of our words, that the poor man, that's what case? Come on, help me. What case is tokon in? What case is this in? Well, actually, we don't have any of the actual Greek students in here. The rest of you are just auditing. So that's the accusative case. So that's in the accusative case. So what we have here is that becomes the subject for this infinitive here. Infinitive to die. So, but it came to pass, and it came to pass, the poor man, the beggar, he died. And so that's how we translate it. But the poor man today, it came into being, came to pass that the poor man died. So he died. Any comments there? Again, this is egeneto day instead of chi egeneto, but either form works. All right, now there's a difference between chi and day, and we won't get into the differences, but there is a difference in the file that I gave you. This file here, let me get back into it. This file right here, it's labeled Greek Lexicon and Grammar Notes that I sent you. It will show you the difference in the day and chi. So you can get into that and study it out more thoroughly. Right, here's another one, chi egeneto. Now notice here, this is of course from Genomai, as I showed you. And all three of the examples are from Genomai. So it could be chi egeneto or egeneto day. And so he has, sometimes it adds an extra chi to it. And so I think it has a meaning. And I think chi, the first chi, if we had chi egeneto chi, I think this would be, and it came to pass that even And so I think the second chi might be even. It might be emphatic. That's what I think its purpose is. So I don't think it's meaningless. I think it has a purpose there. Right. Again, I go with the position if the Holy Spirit put it in there, he had a purpose. And Marion may not know the purpose, but there was a purpose. Okay. Kai Igeneto in Mia. Mia is, of course, that one. Emeron. Kai Atos. Edidaske. Okay, so right here, and it came to pass, or it happened, it came to be, into being, into existence, in one. And so this is the word mia. This is one. Now, I don't think we've done we haven't had the lesson yet. It's later, toward the end of the book, when we get into the various numbers. But mia is one form of the word for one. It fully conjugates, so it goes through masculine, feminine, neuter, and it has all of the cases: nominative, genitive, ablative, dative, interrogative, accusative, and it can even have vocative, I believe. Right. So in one of the days. Now it's of the days because this is genitive plural, see. So in one of the days. So it came to pass in one of the days that even, and that he himself was teaching. And so here, even he himself, see, and autos should be himself, he was teaching. So this is from didasco. And of course, there's your augment and there's your ending here. He was teaching, or he taught. All right. So right here, he was teaching. Okay. Frequently, what we're going to find here is we're going to find our form. Let's go back and look at what this is. We can use our table over here just to figure it out. And so he was teaching. That will be active voice. And so it looks like that rascal is imperfect, doesn't it? So it's imperfect. So it's our imperfect form. So if we go back, the imperfect then is like a movie camera, and it's showing a panorama of its teaching. It's just showing the whole, it's putting all of his teaching together, like it's looking at it all together. And the aorist would just look at it like all viewed like it's one action, or viewed that way. Now, that doesn't mean it's that way, but it's kind of viewed that way. All right, any questions? Anybody? All right, so we have an infinitive up here, and we have a subject for that infinitive is an accusative. So the infinitive then, the subject of it is the accusative, the poor man, the poor, and the word man is implied. And in this case, we have kai geneto, and then another kai. And so right here, kai geneto, another chi. See, I think this second chi is there for a purpose, and I think it would be even. Even he was teaching, right? Right. So right here, this has a finite verb instead of an infinitive. So here's your finite verb, or way over here is your finite verb. It's from didasco, third person singular, imperfect tense. All right. Any questions about that? All right. Now we have kai geneto plus a finite verb, and it doesn't have the second chi on it. So right here, and it came to pass, kai geneto meta, emeros, trace, tray. Now tray is three, see, trace, huron, aton, and I don't think there's an accent mark there. And so if we look at it, and there wasn't an accent mark in the original. I think this is from the text of the Bible. Into, hero. Now, Glenn, this is not a diphthong. It's real easy to get mixed up. It's epsilon iota is a diphthong, but okay. So hero. Okay. Now then, we come to pass after 3 days, they found him in the temple. Right. Of course, this sounds like I believe it's in Luke's account where Jesus was about 12 years old and he was stayed in Jerusalem and they found him in the temple. They went back looking for him. I say, and so it came to pass in the midst or with after days 3. After 3 days, he was found in the temple, him in the temple. Any questions or comments? All right. So let's try this now. I'm going to go right here. Here's one of our words that was and what we've been working with all here is the word genoma. So that's a word that is frequently used in this form. That is, this word here frequently winds up being used in as an impersonal verb. So that's frequently used as an impersonal verb. Not the only word that is, but it is one of the words that is frequently used that way. Okay. Now we got some other words down here, and one of them he lays out for us, dokeo. All right. And this is, I think, or it seemed. And so I could have it as I deem also. Now he has seem here in this, but it actually can be translated as deem. Let's go over and look at it in our, well, I'm going to run out of time here if I'm not careful. I don't want to spend too much time. I'll do that if we get time at the end. Dokeo, I think, or seem. Now then, here in the third person form, remember this, it would be OSA, there's your third person singular form right there. And so it's, in that form, it's used as an impersonal. It seems good, or it seems, right? Questions or comments? So they've listed it like it's a separate entity because it is used that way. And right here, this is from phino, the verb phino. I was seen, I appear. And so we have another one here for us. I shall be raised. And so right here, this is the future passive of egiro. Right? And then we have, this is from the compound word akuo and ace, the preposition ace. And so that's asakuo. And so this is to hear toward. So it's directed toward the person that's talking, I would assume. That's the way I interpret it. And so you're listening, and probably the listening here is probably very intently listening, okay? And then we have, this is an adjective, you can tell by this is the nominative singular masculine ending. This is your ending. Drop the os and put an eta, and you'll have the feminine ending. Drop the os and put an on, you'll have the neuter ending. Of course, that you can tell then, of course, it's an adjective, eklektos. So this is describing the character or something about the person. That person is approved or elect, eklektos. And our word eclectic comes from that as well. We choose out of something, right? This word, eclectic. Eutheos. Of course, the prefix eu means good. Eutheos, immediately or speedily. So there we have that. And this is echo, and that's I have come, I am present. Right. Helios, and the word helium, the sun has a lot of helium in it. So Helios, that's probably where they got the name for helium. I'm not positive about that, but I think it is. Helios, heliocentric is a sun-centered solar system, okay? The sun is the center of our solar system. Helios. Koloboo, and it's I cut off. It's a verb, of course, shortened. Cut it off, it gets shorter. We have kopto, a beat, to beat something. And so in the middle voice is to bewail. I beat upon myself. In the Mideast, some of those Muslims over there, particularly the Shiites, they actually engage in self-flagellation. They beat themselves with whips on their back till they bleed. All right, which to me is crazy, but they do it. Now, I made a modification in yours here. All that the original book had is what I've highlighted. The word parthenos is the word for virgin, but it's a common gender word, and I added this to it. This wasn't in your book because it also exists in the masculine form. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they will talk about only the 144,000 are going to get to go to heaven. That's their doctrine. And you might just point out to them that means there can't be any women there because the 144,000 were all virgins and they were all men because it's a male virgin. It's a masculine gender form. That means the apostles, Apostle Peter, can't be there because he was a married man, right? So there won't be any married men there. You'd have to be a person who was single and had remained a virgin all your life, if they take it literally, of course. I think it's just symbolic of people whose lives are pure. That's what I think they get to be. Questions or comments? Okay. Polu, and of course we put a sigma on it, polus. We would have the word for polus, which would be many, and then logia is word. So many words or much speaking. Right. And scandalizo, and you hear the word scandal in that, scandalizo, and I caused to stumble, so I'm going to cause a scandal, I'm going to cause someone to stumble. Scotizo, and that's I am darkened, I am darkened. So I'm darkened. Soon, that's two words, soon ago. Soon is with, a preposition, and then ago is I lead. And so soon ago is I gather together. Everyone's led together. Something brought them together, okay? Then we have a compound word, and it's compounded there. Pseudo at the first part is lying or deceitful, and prophetes is a prophet, spokesman for another. So this is a false prophet, right? Philake is a watch or a guard, right? Hupomone is endurance or patience. Now then there's a synonym that goes with it. We won't take the time to look at it, but you can look this word up in this file here, that file here, Greek grammar, lexicon and grammar notes file. If you can get down to find it, if we have time, we'll go over and look at it. It's very interesting, but this is has to do with things. Okay, we'll come back to it. I think we'll have time. Pote is when. Now, what I want you to do is to see one thing. I don't know if we have time to do it, but we'll try. All right, that's just when. That's your vocabulary. Now, I went ahead and put this in, and this is common gender. This wasn't in the original, and this wasn't in the original, okay? But I added to it. Are there questions about the vocabulary? Anybody? All right, let's go over now what we have here. I want to find, show you how you can do it, impersonal verb. So I want to go over here to this file, and I'm going to go to the heading up here, and I'm going to type in H, impersonal. And then what this will do is find it. And so they, that's third person singular, that's in the impersonal form of thou. So it means it is binding, it is necessary. So it has an impersonal form, right? Right. And Pharaoh also has an impersonal form. Notice it's third person singular here, right across here. So it makes a difference. So that has a form, it's impersonal. This word right here apparently has an impersonal form, epibalo. And mellow is a care, have to really have regard. And so that's third person singular. Notice the F's on the LD ending. That's also listed under melee in this impersonal verb. Right. So you can find some of these. Now then, also, you want to know some other words that are impersonal. Get my fingers right. I think that'll do it right there. Yeah, there it is. And so this is also in this form. And the form it would have here to be impersonal would be this. Let me type it in, let you see what it would be. It would be that would be in third person singular. That would be an impersonal form. So you can find that in your New Testament. And this will be the third person singular. That's impersonal. It could be impersonal form in that situation. Okay. Let me see if I might find another one. And here's one that's found quite a lot. It is lawful. It's found in 1 Corinthians several times. And this is an impersonal verb. This is from X, and it's from ame, X, and it's ame, ek ame. It's ek ame, but it is this word here, ek plus ame. It's those two put together. And when they put them together, what happens here is to make it third person singular. So that becomes ST, and so is. So that's third person. And when they take this out, this kappa becomes a kasi, right? Capital. So that's how it works. So that's how they get it. So that's from ek and ame. Okay. Questions there? All right. Let's see if we can find one more. We're just about out of time. And I think I already had this one, didn't I? Yeah, it's impersonal. And that's melee. It's listed. I got it listed as a separate word over here as a separate entry, but that's impersonal form of it. We just did that one. Let me go back now. Back over here. And let me think. Do you have any questions about any of the material now that we covered? No questions? All right. What we'll do then is we'll get out of this class and we'll get into the next one, okay? All right. All right.